This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
All right, let me answer this caller. Activist, you're on the air.
Hey, bro, Chad, how you doing?
We All Be TV is finally on the air. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. I can't complain, man. I'm sorry for being late. I was just coming back from the gym. That's why I was running late, because self-care is the best self-care.
You're making me want to go to the gym right
self-care.
now, man.
Huh?
You may want to go to the gym right now. I haven't been to the gym in weeks. I've just been doing push-ups and running all the time, but I need to pump some freaking iron, man. Seriously.
Oh, definitely. Hey, man, we need you around as long as possible, man, doing the good work you're doing. We need you around. You need to amplify your efforts, but also take care of yourself in the process.
Oh, yes, sir. But let me introduce you to everybody, to all my guests. This is We All Be TV. He is the founder of We All Be TV, was the popular internet radio show on YouTube. You're on Blog Talk and Talk Show, or just Blog Talk?
Well, I'm off the plantation. I'm not doing any work for the plantation. I'm through sharecropping for Blog Talk Radio. So
okay.
You can just find myself on YouTube. Yeah. Well, I just found on YouTube. Like, I stopped podcasting a while back last year because I just don't like the fact that how they treat their loyal base. Like, it's like the UPN or WB network. They were built by black people and black people shows. Blog Talk was built by black people and black people shows. It was built by black power, but they don't respect the black power they have at Blog Talk Radio. So I had to leave the plantation.
Okay. So So you're just on doing live show? Are you just doing Google or what exactly? Go ahead.
I call it guerrilla news. It's guerrilla news. I just do whatever I have at my disposal. You're only as good as the tools you have at your disposal, on your toolbox, on your tool belt. So what I do is I just record phone calls, or I'll travel miles around the country to interview people in person, and I create videos and upload them to YouTube for right now.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. The reason I'm on Talk Show is because it's free and I can go up to 4 or 5 hours, so I know how you feel. I'm going to start doing YouTube videos after I try to buy myself a camera and do more interviews so I can get better sound. But I know how you feel in that they're taking away your free speech. They're making you pay for free speech. And honestly speaking, Talk Show might be the same way in 4 or 5 years, but right now it's free. And the audio is better, and I like it this way, and it's live. I like doing a live show. So that's why I'm messing with Talk Show. But you've interviewed many people and have traveled many places. What made you want to do what you want to do and have your own platform and have your? What's your goal, and what's your the thing that pumps you up? Your motivation.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, excellent questions. I started this April marks the 10-year anniversary of the We All Be movement. Like, I started this basically when I was down in New Orleans protesting early voting on April Fool's Day 2006. I was crossing the same bridge that the black folks were crossing during in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, where the white folks in that parish didn't want the black folks to come from New Orleans, so they had to go back to the Superdome. They was faced with armed resistance from white supremacy. So the next year we walked across the bridge, some of activists and political-minded people, along with Reverend Al Sharpton and John Legend, and had Ray Nagin, who was the mayor at the time. So I walked across that bridge, and I had an epiphany. I wanted to start a platform that tells our story from our perspective. Our story meaning African American people, our narratives. Because even when you look at Katrina, the news coverage was very poor. It was very hate-filled, very poor, very biased, and we know what happened now just a couple of years later. But imagine if we had the type of social media apparatus that we had now. If we had an Instagram, or we had YouTube or like a Twitter. I think YouTube just started in 2005. So we had these things like in their prime, like Facebook. We would have a whole different view of Katrina in real time. So I think it's very important that black folks, because we got to honor tradition in our community, in the diaspora. Our greatest black leaders, they all had their own media apparatus, whether it be Marcus Garvey of the Negro World, whether it be Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the Association, the African American Journal, or whether it be Actie Wells, the Free Speech and Headlight, reporting lynchings in a newspaper. authors of Memphis, Tennessee, or whether it be Freddie Gregg, the North Star, Malcolm X, Muhammad Speak, the list goes on and on. So it's very important that if you are a so-called black leader, that you have a media platform to talk. And so I started just as a blog, basically, just writing blogs, so like everybody else in 2006. And then before April, I had one, before April, I went to a Black History program sponsored by FedEx at their corporate world headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. And Warren Williams was the keynote, who's Fox News and NPR fame, infamy, depending on your perspective. So I had a chance to meet Warren Williams. He gave me his contact information. And I called Warren Williams and spoke to him about 10 minutes on the phone. And I was telling my idea about we need more media that's really African-American centered. And basically all he told me was, start a radio show, start a TV show. He didn't tell me how to do it. He just told me I need to do it and get with like-minded people to do it. So that's how I started We All Be blog. But my mom ended up getting interviewed by a sister out of New York City back in December of 2006. And the sister was interviewing her on a new platform that debuted that year called Blog Talk Radio. So I checked out Blog Talk Radio. At that time, it was free. You just broadcast like talk show for several hours without any problem. It had a nice switchboard apparatus. You actually had like a real internet radio show platform. So I debuted it in January 2007 on the Blog Talk Radio platform. At first, I started as a thing where, like we talk sometimes, Brother Chad, on the phone. We have these great conversations, and it's very insightful. But once we hang up the phone, the conversation ends. The ideas don't get further than what we spoke about on the phone conversation. So I wanted to preserve some of these amazing talks with my friends and family for posterity. So I started my We All Be radio show. It premiered 1 hour every Sunday. Started, I think, on January 7th, 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So I had my friends start calling in as my guests. But then they started falling off. They wasn't as committed. Because now I see that it was really like a job. My hobby was a job. Like, it takes a lot of time to promote the shows, to research for the shows and stuff like that. And everybody want to do that. So it's not a sprint. It's not a 100-yard dash. It's a marathon. So what I started doing, I started going on MySpace and even Facebook and other websites and Googling people and going on white pages to look up people to interview and to look up subjects that might be of interest. So I started, went from me talking to my friends and stuff, started talking to people like Dick Gregory or Judge Joe Brown or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, people like that, and also covering news shows or stories that may not get a lot of mainstream coverage, like lynchings of black men, unsolved lynchings and stuff like that, and other things that's going on in the community. I know it's a long answer, but that's so yeah. That's
a very long answer, well-deserving long answer. And the fact is, I think we do need our own media, and I'm glad that Warren Williams was one of the people that was the ones that influenced you. And I've been listening to a lot of your shows, from Kendrick Johnson to about Frederick Douglass to about the family of Emmett Lewis Till. Malcolm X. You interviewed a white witness of Malcolm X's murder. Is that correct?
Yeah, brother. Yeah, Roland Shepard. Yes, he was there when Malcolm got assassinated at the Optimum Ballroom. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you have a lot of very provocative interviews, but there's one, I don't know if you did a show about, I think you did. There was a black nationalist in Mississippi, and his name, he was very fair-skinned. His name was, I can't, it begins with L, but do you know who I'm talking about? Do you think he was murdered?
I don't think I know he was murdered. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just came from
Why do you know he was murdered?
Well, I would tell you like this. Any black person living in the system of white supremacy, the system is killing us. It's not the cancer. It's not diabetes. It's not the high blood pressure. It's the system that's killing us. So we don't fit in this system. It's a system of white supremacy racism, which was diagnosed by people like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. But the thing about it is, if you talk to people in his circle, I mean, he was killed by neglect. I mean, from my understanding, he came in there, I don't know what's going on. I think he had, I don't want to speculate because I don't know the details all way. But what he came to the hospital for, he shouldn't have ended up dead. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people was alluding to the fact that he was neglected when he got to the hospital. Now, he was elected mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, to neglect the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, that is a murder. But that's true. If he didn't get the right treatment when he got to the hospital.
Like, people were really quiet about it. I'm like, really? That's why I was
spoke up about it.
I'm sorry?
A black official down in Jackson, he said it was murder. And people look at him like he's crazy. But it's the thing. We can't, when somebody become a conspiracy theorist, right? But the whole system is conspiring against you if you're a person of color. So for this man to come up, he's a public official down in Jackson. I don't know his name right now. But he suggested that Chokwe was murdered too. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that believe he was murdered, like Harold Washington up in Chicago, the mayor of Chicago, even Maynard Jackson, the former mayor of Atlanta.
Why do you think he was murdered?
Well, I mean, they said he was Al Jazeera or somehow, Democracy Now! They say he was the most revolutionary mayor. Chokwe has a long history of freedom fighting. He embodies the slogan, free the land. He always say, free the land. And I had a chance to interview Brother Chokwe during the Scott Sisters movement. He came on my show a couple of times to talk about the Scott Sisters. That's like because he was one of their lawyers. But Chokwe is very highly respected in the Pan-African Black nationalist circles. He has the work. He has the resume. So, I mean, he was not about business as usual because when he got elected, there was really a grassroots movement. They talking about Bernie Sanders and stuff like that. He actually had a real grassroots coalition of working class and people of color and people coming in from Detroit, where he's from, and other places to help out with their campaign. I mean, it really was a people's movement in Jackson. There was a lot of hope behind Chokwe. So, I mean, he was somebody to be reckoned with because he had the power of the people behind him.
Yeah, and then since he wasn't going to kowtow to the powers that be, the Zionists or other groups of people that would try to undermine him, I believe, then that's why he got killed. I see your point. But I want to go to something deeper. I mean, here's where the real big disagreement comes in, because I've read Frances Cress Welsing, I've looked at the videos, and I agree that of the term white supremacy. But what I'm looking at is that 50 or 60 years ago, we knew who the main enemy was. But now that in 2016, when the Asians are buying up movie theaters and buying up America, we have Asians, Hispanics, and different groups of people. Do you think that it might be bigger than it, and you think everybody's going to go against this?
Well, the thing about it is, I think black folks are confused because electoral politics ain't gonna give us our freedom or liberation. It's group economics. It's group politics that'll get us free. White supremacy is a team sport. It's like the World Cup. That's the most famous. Soccer is the most famous sport in the world, right? And every several years they have the World Cup. White supremacy is the World Cup. Yeah, all these countries with different teams trying to compete for that one title to be the best. And black folks have not got the memo, or they got the memo, they can't understand the facts. I don't know. But everybody's playing group politics. You mentioned Asians. Asian people don't vote. They run businesses. They buy their politicians. They buy policy. They got lobbyists. Same thing with Hispanics. They own businesses. They practice group politics. They practice group economics. Everything in this system is about identity politics. Koreans know their mother tongue. Vietnamese people, when they come here, they know their mother tongue. Italians, Irish, everybody know their mother tongue except for black people. We was kidnapped from our motherland. We came from different tribes. We don't know our language. So to know your language, to know your mother tongue, is to know your identity, to have knowledge of yourself. When I hear people talk about education, they talk about, here's how some people have fallen. They'll claim that the reason why kids not acting right in school is because you took out prayer. You took out discipline the child, spanking, hitting the kid. No, you never put in knowledge of self. You got to have knowledge of self. That's the foundation of a real education. Because once you have knowledge of self, you can have true purpose and also true liberation. So our kids are not getting that. Brother Malcolm X told us this 50, 60 years ago. Only a fool will let their enemy be the primary educator of their children. Right now in Memphis, they just announced this week that they're closing 24 schools. in the city of Memphis. Memphis is a majority black town. Over 24 About 24 schools will be closing in a majority black town. Memphis is almost 70% black. One of the blackest cities in America, one of the most African cities in America. Amazing history. But we're closing down schools. Schools and churches are neighborhood or community institutions. You know, this is like, you look at the civil rights movement. It was the students that was a part of that movement. It was the church that helped organize the civil rights movement. And both have been compromised 60 years later. Both the church and both the schools have been compromised. They're not controlled by the community. The HBCUs can't raise no money. They're going out of business. You know, so.
Well, I mean, we both know that HBCUs aren't really. It's been forever, but they aren't even funded by us. I believe you said that Bethune-Cookman was one of the only HBCUs that's funded by black people.
It was started by a black person, right? See, Washington, people make a mistake when they say he's the founder of Tuskegee. He didn't found Tuskegee. The state of Alabama founded Tuskegee. They brought Booker T. Washington to help build the foundation for Tuskegee. Mary McLeod Bethune actually started Bethune-Cookman with just $1.50 in the bank. So we talk about people trying to start schools and raise money, but she only started school with just $1.50. $1.50 in the back in 1900 is still like a basic. I think it's worth more than it is now. $1.50. But she was able to do that and secure like 20 acres of land. And like, you know, people always say a lot of these historical black colleges and universities were founded by white people and named after white people. Look at Spelman. That's a Rockefeller. You look at Howard University. It's named after General Howard. You look at all these schools. It's named after white people. They we call black, like Black Greek Society, which is interesting. That's another story. I'm not trying to be no Steve Coakley on this phone right now.
Right, but that's my homie too, Steve Coakley. But, what I'm saying is, would you say that going to an HBCU is right now in 2016, going to most HBCU is pretty much like going to a white college? Would you say that or no?
Well, some of the HBCUs are actually turning white. White are the new minorities at the HBCU. Look at places like Tennessee State, or you look at what happened recently a couple of years ago in Morehouse. I think the valedictorian was a white dude. If I'm not mistaken. So I mean, like, you know, integration was a mistake. It was a mistake, and when I say it was a mistake, I'm saying about how it went, how they implemented integration. Integration did not mean assimilation. Because we had some very powerful black schools 50, 60 years ago. They were graduating some brilliant people. If you think about it, our greatest leaders, most of them have connections to HBCUs, whether they taught there or they went there or whatever, or both. Most of our greatest black people we have produced in this country came out of the HBCU. If you put together the top 100 greatest black people, more than half probably have connections to an HBCU. Some type of way. But what's going on now is that, like I said, we don't practice group politics or identity politics. Everybody else practices that. Now, we have a debate where we want to call ourselves, nigga, or color, or Negro, or black, or what. We confused about what they even call ourselves. So we can't get together on one thing. Asians, whatever they come from, they can get together on one thing. Latinos could get together on one thing. The Irish to get together on one thing. But black folks, we have yet to get together on one thing. And when we did get together on one thing, now we're confused about how to go beyond. Because the thing about black people is that everybody used our blueprint for their own liberation and empowerment. Everybody used what we did 50, 60 years ago, or as long as we've been here, people have used us. You know, like you got this trickery going on right now. You know, Gene Simmons from Kiss told Ice Cube and them they not rock and roll. Gene Simmons not qualified to tell nobody they not rock and roll. You understand? No white person is qualified to say what is rock and roll. No white person is qualified to tell you what is jazz. Because who created that stuff? But if you let the kids run around the grocery store and the parents ain't disciplining the kids, this is what happens. Black people are the parents of the human family. You let your kids run wild in the grocery store. You let the inmates run the asylum. This is what's going on right now today in our world with this white supremacy phenomenon. And when I say white supremacy, I'm not talking about they actually superior. See, that's a fallacy. People say, you say white. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they have a system in place. In nature is bigger than white supremacy, right? The universe is bigger than white supremacy, but the system is practiced by keeping people from having access, people of color, from having access to things. That's how they stay in power. White power is based on divide and conquer. Black power is based on unity and solidarity.
So I'm trying to go one thing on the integration statement you said. I think that what would happen was we had a bad business deal, and I think that if we had empowered ourselves and integrated after about 10 or so years later, with us having, they would come to us for integrating because we had so much money and commerce, and then integration would happen. But on the white supremacy thing, I'm getting what you're saying about them blocking education and money. But if that's the case, right? Why did George Lincoln Rockwell, who was a neo-Nazi, work with a black Muslim, Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X? Why would that happen if they believed it was just white people who were the ones just in power?
Because politics is made for strange bedfellows. Power is the aphrodisiac, like what Henry Kissinger said. You can be an ugly person, but if you got power, people think you got power, you get everything you want. You get any type of woman you want in the world. Because everybody loves to be around power. Everybody loves power to a certain degree. So politics is made for strange bedfellows. You go back to where Marcus Garvey was getting money from the Ku Klux Klan back in the 20s for his Black Star Line. And people say, well, he's selling out. I said, well, you're not playing to win, partner. Because if you in this system, we are actually subsidizing our own genocide. You got folks in Flint, Michigan struggling to pay their water bill. They poison you, but you're still trying to pay your water bill. You crazy. We have been driven insane by this system. There is no sane person in this system, especially a person of color is not sane. So you've been driven insane in this system, but they think it's normal because that's all you know. If you live in segregation all your life, you think it was as natural as oxygen as water. Kind of like what Morgan Freeman said, he thought segregation was as natural as the rain. It was until he got outside of Mississippi, he saw the world, he said, oh, this is different. But, the thing about it is we confuse integration with assimilation. See, it was okay to integrate as long as we kept my identity. Because when I get back, once again, everybody who's winning in the system, they practice group economics, group self-help, and group identity. Black folks are still debating our identity to this day. Are we Americans? Are we African Americans? Are we American Africans? Are we colored? Are we black? Are we Negro? Are we nigger or nigger? What are we? So if we can't get a consensus as a people about what to call ourselves, then we can't really play to win. We can't even get in the game. I mean, this is a blood sport, but it's a team sport, white supremacy racism. So Dr. King realized that before he died, when he said we integrate into a burning house. We have lost our moral compass because for generations, black folks have been the moral compass of America, whatever they had. We was the moral grounding for America. Black people, the black story, the black struggle. We was there. Conscious of America, right? The boys talk about the double consciousness of black folks, the souls of black folks. We was the soul of America. But our thing is we want to be around the sick people. And so we got it sick.
Very good, very good. We're better, but it seemed like the sick people were doing fine, so we just want to be around the sick people, and we want to look at everybody else's successes, but don't want to look at our own success. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we always talk about So this is what we do. When somebody want to talk about what's going on, like black reparations, when we talk about what happened to black folks with the slavery Holocaust, people are talking about, what about the Irish? What about the Irish? Let them talk about their struggle. We always trying to talk about everybody else's struggle, but yet nobody talks about our struggle. They want to mute us. They want to censor us when we talk about our struggle, our pain. We got to start putting ourselves first. This society does not care about black people. You keep on begging, you keep on hashtagging, you keep on marching, you keep on singing, and what you're doing is wasted energy. What we need to do, and what individuals can do is stop hanging around the toxic waste dump. Right now, black folks are toxic to each other. We too toxic to be in groups of 5s and 4s and 12s and 30. We too toxic. We need a detox.
I mean, even Nelly Fuller said that if it's not constructive, don't hang around too many black people. And I mean, it just seems to me that yeah. So, what can you do?
Look, man, this is what I do. When I talk to black people, I don't care for sports that much. I like sports. I study the history. I don't spend my whole weekends looking at sports. I get highlights online on ESPN, whatever. Yeah. But if I want to connect with black folks, I just got to bring up some sports. And Negroes and niggas can't talk. They love to talk about sports. They love to talk about Kobe and them. They love to talk about the Golden State Warriors. But we don't want to do what the Golden State Warriors do to win in white supremacy. They work as a team. We're not willing to do that in real life to compete. We love to compete in sports, but we're not willing to take that type of competitive edge or nature into the business world, into every other activity of
to the global market.
Right, because everything is warfare with white people. Everything is war.
But
and we want to speak the language of forgiveness.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying everything is war with them. All they understand is military science and money.
You just have to compete with the Asians, the Indians, and everybody else. So you can't just say it's white supremacy or just white people. I'm getting what you're saying on a historical.
But most people when y'all think it's white ain't really white. That's what y'all don't understand. It's only a small group of people that's actually white.
Anglo-Saxon, yeah.
I ain't gonna say Anglo-Saxon. It's only a small group that set the policy. What I'm saying is the world is ruled by minorities. You got 3 billion people living on $1.50 a day.
Yes.
Majority of the world is poor under this system. The minorities are the wealthy ones. I ain't talking about when you a black person in Kansas or whatever. I'm talking about the white folks in the world that are really white. They're the minorities. You got nigger white. They think they really white, or trailer park, or rednecks and all that stuff, but they're not really white. They say, at least I'm not a nigger. That's the mentality they have. See, everything white folks do, they know if these poor white people connect with the black folks is all over with. But the way they keep power is to divide and conquer. They want you to hate the trailer park person up in the Appalachian Mountains. But that's not your enemy, black person. And white person, the person with his pants sagging in the hood ain't your enemy. Your enemy up there setting public policy, getting rich off of war, sending your kids can barely read and write to war. To die for them.
Commentary, sir. Keep going.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, it's a banking system. It's like these people think, you got white folks think they're actually going to be as wealthy as Donald Trump. Most of them ain't going to never have the money Donald Trump has. They think one day they could do it. They don't have the pedigree for it. They don't have the bloodline. They don't have certain things that Donald Trump has. You know? Even Barack Obama is related to, like, what? How many presidents?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that how there's some people that believe, like, they believe that they're going to be rich because they're white. You know, there used to be a saying, you know, and I just saw this, a saying called "free white and 21." You know, and some people just believe, you know, just because they're white, they're going to do so good in this country, they're going to do so awesome. So when they see a black person or anybody else doing good, not them, they either kill themselves or they either just get so mad and like,
they want to kill you.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, you see a homeless white person. Yeah, but I'm saying, I see homeless white people all the time. I'm saying, why are you homeless? You white. Why are you homeless? Because you don't know how to play the game. So that let me know that all the white folks ain't got the memo. That means you're not really white, so why are you homeless? You don't know how to use your white skin? I mean, I got several degrees. If that homeless person clean themselves up and put on a suit, and I have a way better resume. I'm educated, but they'll probably get the job. So what's the problem?
But they'll only get the job if it's owned by a white person because of a company.
Most of the jobs are owned by white people. We talking about if it's only owned. Majority of the business is for white people.
But you understand, they own the business. But
white people own the majority of the business. I mean, they will get a job for you.
Or go to an Indian business. They won't hire you, a white person, or anybody else.
Well, Indians work with a white man too. Everybody, look, if you got a black business, you don't really have a black business if you in this system. You might, they let you own a business. You got to pay taxes and register and all that other stuff.
Right.
But you're still in their system. So is it really black owned?
Yes,
he still got to pay taxes because of white supremacy.
Okay, wait a minute. You're saying that, but I mean, so you're saying owning a business, having your own commerce, so just paying taxes makes it not black owned, though? So what's
right,
black
you
owned?
paying into the system. You exist under their rules, under their management. Regardless if you own a franchise, but you still under their management. They own the brand. This is their system. But what you can do is beat them sometimes at their own game, like the Japanese did after World War II. They didn't come back to America and blew up, New York Harbor or whatever, or California. They reorganized and got back with the economic. They went the war economic way. They did economic warfare.
That's true.
Yeah, so they don't have to always be about the guns, because guns ain't really shit. All said and done, I mean, your gun ain't nothing compared to a tank or to they want jet fighters or to their drones. But what you can do is come together with some solidarity and unity and force them to do the things you need them to do. See, you can still win in this system, but recognize it's still their system. But you still get some winning going on. Like we had the Negro Leagues. The Negro Leagues was making more money than the major leagues at one point. The Jackie Robinson thing was a Trojan horse to bring all that black money out the black community.
Thank you.
And bring it over to white people's hands. Because, Branch Rickey, who was the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, he was friends with Ike Bookerson, the guy who owned the Kansas City Monarchs that Jackie Robinson played for. So there was like white people, even though you had this white man in the Eagle League on his baseball team, he still recognized game. See, white folks got a code. But black folks, we don't have a code. And that's why we get messed up a lot. We don't know how to deal with the police in the proper way. We don't know how to deal with business in the proper way. Because we don't have a code that we adhere to. Everybody else has a code, especially white people.
We got a lot of crazy comments in the chat. This is by one person. And for this one person, his name is C.I. Please call in if you want to ask Mr. We All Be a question. But this is what the comments that he's saying. Jews have forced whites to hire blacks. Stupid niggers will never understand the difference between Jews and whites. They don't have the mental capacity. Their system is the Jew system, not a white system. The code is called general conduct. What's your response to these words from the person?
Well, let's just clear a Jew and a Hebrew, right? The original chosen people are black people. Judaism is an African religion. So black folks, we are the cradle of civilization. Like I tell people all the time, behind every great white man is a black mentor that he stole from. There's a movie about Hank Williams Sr., the king of country music, that just came out. I think I saw the light. Well, people got to understand about Hank Williams Sr., his master teacher was Rufus Payne, a black man from Alabama. His mama hired Rufus Payne to teach Hank Williams how to sing and play guitar. If you look at his approach to guitar or how he sang, he can't read music. Hank Williams couldn't read music. So he got a very African way of playing and singing. He was taught by a black man how to play the guitar and sing the way he did. And as a matter of fact, he acknowledged it during his lifetime that he was taught by this man. And the Grand Ole Opry and his sons, they commissioned a huge memorial statue and put it in the cemetery where Rufus Payne is buried in Montgomery, outside of Montgomery, Alabama. Mm-hmm. You look at George Gershwin. This is April is Jazz Appreciation Month. George Gershwin, he's a great composer. Well, if you don't understand, his master teacher was a black man named Lucky Roberts from Philadelphia. Lucky Roberts was one of the greatest Harlem-style piano players or jazz pianists of all time. Mm-hmm. And also, he became a multi-millionaire twice over by dealing real estate in New York City. He taught George Gershwin how to play the piano and how to compose music. So when the dude said about so-called niggas not understanding Jews, we are the original Jews. We're not Jewish, we're the Jews.
No.
I remember when I was at Washington University.
But he's saying there's a power dynamic between Jews and white people, and he said it's really a Jewish system. What do you think of him saying that? Do you think that has any value, or do you think it's complete crap? That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not gonna debate a person's point of view, because a lot of times our point of views are based on our experiences and what we know. And I mean, he might have a point. I mean, there's proof of the lie. I'm not gonna I'm just putting out there as a different riddle. This is the stuff I'm sharing with people. I mean, we could talk about a lot of things. We could talk about what Henry Ford did with his newspaper to talk about the Zionist. that, the protocol, whatever. He did a newspaper in Dearborn, Michigan, I believe, Henry Ford. Henry Ford Motor Company. He had a newspaper. You can get online now and look at what he talked about, the Zionist conspiracy. I'm not getting the back and forth there. What I'm trying to let people understand is that there's a lot of information out here that help you look at things differently. I mean, when I was at Washington University in St. Louis as a student, we had the Black Woman, Jewish Woman organization bring over some Ethiopian Jews. And the white Jewish people were impressed. I didn't know they were like, so these people were regal. You know what I'm saying? They were like royalty. They had dignity and respect, and they were black Jews from Ethiopia. But we don't understand about Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the only country in Africa that was never colonized by white supremacy. Now, they knew you had the Italians, they invaded, and massacred a whole bunch of people, but they were never colonized. And the oldest Bible known in the world comes from Ethiopia. They say the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. Okay? So that's Africa. Judaism is an African religion. We think it's we think it's Semite. Hell for what? Judaism is an African religion. So it's community. It's about community. See, what I like about the Jewish people is that they practice group politics. Even in their religion, you invest in your people first. You invest in your community first before you give away anything to anybody else's community or people. I have a Jewish friend that lives in Miami that I went to school with. And I know we had this conversation. She said, Ron, every day, I thank God for my Jewish lawyer, my Jewish dentist, my Jewish car salesman, my Jewish landlord. She would say, I'm thankful that I can do business with my people and that I can empower my people. She told me that. See, but our religion, we got churches chicken and liquor stores on every corner in Memphis.
On every corner.
We the poorest big city, though. We the poorest big city in the nation. We almost 70% black, but we got churches on every corner. This is what Kojic came out of. The Church of God in Christ was started in Memphis. Mason Temple was the very place that Dr. King spoke before he was assassinated. April 3rd, 1968. That's in the hood.
Yeah.
You look at the Mormons, though. See what I'm saying? Look at the Mormons. In the Nation of Islam, with Elijah Muhammad, that was the golden era. But the Mormons, before the Civil War happened, they actually went to war with the United States government. James Buchanan was president. They actually went to war in the West with the United States government, and they won. They did a team effort with the Native Americans out there, and they beat the United States government with their federal troops. Just a couple of years before the American Civil War. You look this up. Because the founder of Mormons, whatever in the Church of Latter-day Saints, whatever you call him, Joseph Smith, he was actually lynched by other white people. They lynched him. But look at the Mormons. They one of the fastest growing religions in the country, if not the fastest. But this is why they came out. They were willing to fight for what they want. They were willing to die for what they want, and now they're growing larger every day. But black folks, we get lynched and all this stuff. We just take it and forgive our enemies and keep them on moving. They steal our land. They firebomb us in Philadelphia. They firebomb us in Tulsa. They genocide us in Rosewood. We just keep it on moving. But that's our people, though. But we got forgiving mentality really showed last year because I do believe that, and this is me saying this on my own show, so people will disagree with me on this. I'm saying to the people who disagree on me, if you never listen to me again, I don't care, but this is the truth. It seems to me like black American people are the only people who forgive this easily. After this happens, after some of the family we forgive them, we forgive you, we love you, Jesus, we're going to sing, and now it seems like black Americans do this. Go ahead. No, I'm listening to you. Oh, you on the roll, man. Keep going.
I'm just saying I don't see Asians doing this. I don't see Hispanics doing this. I don't see black Africans doing this. And that's not to say you don't forgive someone after some years, after a decade, if they kill or do something to your son. But I'm just saying after it all happens and you lose your loved one to say, no human person does that. So,
people, you got very, like Latinos are very religious people, but they don't, like you said, they take care of business. Like everybody, You know, like with black people, this is the thing with black folks, right? You look at this country. Now, you look at, for example, let's say back in the late 19th century or early 1900s, when an immigrant was lynched, the United States had to acknowledge the lynching of an immigrant and pay reparations to the immigrant's native country. Like I say, like the Italians who were lynched in New Orleans back around the turn of the century or last century, whatever, 19th century, reparations were paid to Italy. If a Chinese immigrant was lynched, reparations were paid to China. But when black folks are lynched, who do you pay reparations to? Who do you acknowledge? What country? See, it goes back to us not having our mother tongue identified and not knowing where we come from, knowledge of self. If you have knowledge of self, you could demand things of this system that you cannot demand if you don't know who you are, because you don't know your inheritance. So, like, this is the problem with black people. We keep on thinking it's about whipping kids and about prayer in school when it's really about having knowledge of self. That's all it's about. Because white folks will create knowledge of self on a lie, and then they make you think it's the truth. They'll create books about it and the movies and plays and everything, and you start believing it's real. But it's not. It's an illusion. You know, because everything they have is lie. But if I tell you the truth about black people, you think it's science fiction. You think it's fantasy. You think it's a Disney movie. But I'm telling you, black folks actually did do this. If I told you about Paul Robeson, who could speak so many different languages, who was like one of the first black All-American football players, who had a law degree, who was one of the world's greatest singers and actors, this is all one person. You wouldn't even believe it. His father was a former enslaved African, was a well-respected minister up in New Jersey. He actually went to law school with the future governor of New York, Thomas Dewey, who ran for president twice and lost the Truman famously. So, I mean, this is Paul Robeson. If I tell you that this guy actually, you won't believe it because we don't know who we are. We don't talk about Paul Robeson no more.
We don't even know our own history and know enough of the successes we got here in America. Yeah.
So when people talk about ignorant niggas taught y'all everything you know. Thomas Edison had a whole bunch of ignorant so-called niggas working for him. It was Louis Latimer that put the filament in the light bulb and made it last. It was Louis Latimer who developed the first telephone for Alexander Graham Bell. Okay? So people can talk all they want to. The most skilled labor force coming out of the Civil War was former enslaved Africans. That's why they formed unions to keep black folks from getting government contracts or business contracts. Unions were formed to keep black folks from working. Hello?
I'm here, sir.
I'll be like to work, man. I mean, yeah.
No, I was about to say I'm going to do a 4-minute, 36-second break. I'm going to play some music, and we're going to the second hour. You can do a second hour, right?
Yeah, definitely. Before you, yeah. You're a good man.
All right, we're going to go for another hour. I'm going to get into a little bit of Donald Trump and get into a little bit of the reparation conversation. We'll be right back here on the Chad Factor. If anybody wants to call in the chat room with me and We All Be, number is 724-444-7444. Call ID 113475 # and press 1 then pound. We'll be right back. Hello, We All Be?
I'm here. Yes, sir.
Did the song just end, by the way? It hasn't ended for a while.
It just ended maybe under a minute. It ain't been long. Just about maybe 20, 30 seconds.
I was on an important phone conversation, so I'm sorry for making you wait.
Oh, it's fine. It's live radio. Sometimes this stuff kind of happens on live radio. It's cool.
We have 2 callers right now, but I'm going to go into a topic first. And according to the Baltimore Sun, this is April 14th, 10:23 a.m., it says that Donald Trump is trying to do a huge rally in Maryland after the primary on April 19th. He's trying to figure out where he's going to go. And he said he last visited the state in June where he spoke to a fundraiser for the Maryland Republican Party. But some people from Baltimore threatened him, said that they got a chop in the trunk for Donald Trump. So I'm just trying to see, how do you think he's going to get treated in Maryland? Do you think he'll have to cancel, or do you think he can do his rally there?
I mean, he can do his rally wherever he please. I don't think he should fear people of Baltimore or Maryland if he want to be president of the United States. Like Barack Obama said, he's the president of everybody. I mean, he's the president of the white supremacists, the KKKers, the naysayers, and everybody. So if you want to be president, be presidential. You know, because everybody got a right to agree to disagree. But I don't necessarily agree with people being violent towards Donald Trump because he's not our problem. If you're black, Donald Trump is a product of the system. The system is the problem. See, our problem is we want to see evil personified, and I don't believe Donald Trump is their evil. I believe he represents the white privilege of this system that preys on people's, they prey on and exploit people of color. They exploit really everybody because people really, in general, is collateral damage for the system. You know, so I don't think Donald Trump should fear having this rally anywhere. And April 19th is also the 1 year.
Fearing, I'm saying because after Chicago, I'm saying that some stuff might happen in Maryland.
Stuff happens every day, though. I mean, what's that? Stuff happens every day we don't know about. People getting killed every 20 seconds or whatever. People getting killed.
Wait a minute. Why are you doing that, Mr. WeAllBe? I'm talking about this, though. You're going to the extreme now.
Well, April 19th is not extreme. April 19th is the 1 year anniversary of Freddie Gray getting killed by the police in Baltimore.
Yes.
He was assaulted on April 12th. April 12th is the anniversary of the American Civil War and also the anniversary of the Fort Pillow Massacre, where over 300 black soldiers, along with black women and children, were massacred by Nathan Bedford Forrest and 1,500 Confederate soldiers. Nathan Bedford Forrest was the first Grand Wizard of the KKK and a notorious slave trader. And also, they said Donald Trump's father was a member of the KKK. You know, the New York Times had an article that came out back in, I believe, 1927. They said that Donald Trump's father was arrested by the police. It was a KKK clash against the NYPD up in Queens, of all places, Queens, New York. Right. So Donald Trump's father is allegedly a Klansman and was mentioned by the New York Times. Now, Donald Trump, he denies this. But Robert Byrd, the senator from West Virginia, was a Klansman, and he was a Democrat.
And then the other dude that was running against Bush.
Well, you had Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black from Alabama, who was a senator from Alabama. He was in the Klan. He also voted for the Brown v. Board decision.
Yes.
So that's white privilege and white supremacy. That's the system.
But what I was talking about with the Baltimore incident was that is he going to actually speak or will it have to be shut? That was my question. I get that bad and terrible things happen.
Well, I'm saying, you shouldn't fear. Black folks ain't running nothing. Nobody respects black people.
Okay,
black folks don't even respect black people. He's not afraid of black people. Trust me. If he wanted to speak, he could speak. He could go to Freddie Gray's hood. Freddie Gray's hood to speak.
But why did he cancel
out Chicago?
Yeah.
He didn't have to cancel out Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of. See, they running games, man. They trying to start some stuff. People talking about this race war. We've been in a race war. We've been in Bacon's Rebellion. There's been a race war in this country. But black folks don't know how to fight in this system to win. We don't know how to play to win. So we confused, and what they do emotional baiting. They want to get black folks even more confused without emotion. We got to deal with the system. You got to deal with it from a logical standpoint. You got to know what is the pros and cons and everything, and what constitutes a win and what constitutes a loss. If you look at the American Revolutionary War, George Washington lost more battles than he won, but yet he still won the American Revolutionary War. Once again, let me repeat this slowly. George Washington lost more battles than he won, and yet he still won the American Revolutionary War. Why? Because the British victories that the British Redcoats got, it came at too high of a price. The victories wasn't even worth winning because it cost the British too much. So that's why George Washington, and you got to look at the battles that he lost, were they really worth winning anyway? Because it's not about always quantity, it's about quality. So black folks, we got to get back to quality. We got to figure out what is a quality win. Winning is not endorsing a party that ignores your pleas for help. Winning is not going out to endorse a candidate before you get a guarantee from that candidate to endorse something for your people. Before you get a guarantee from that candidate to acknowledge your agenda. See, black folks, after 8 years almost of Obama, we still have no clue about what we need and want.
So Donald Trump is the least of our worries that black people benefit? You said what, Mr. WLB?
I said Donald Trump is the least of black folks' worry. What you need to be worried about is how we're going to get together and come up with some wins, some quality wins in this system. And how can we get together to create a food path for
So you're saying that we didn't benefit under Obama. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not going to put this on Obama all the way. I think black folks never had anything to come. And look, Al Sharpton is out there bragging about him having more access to the White House than any black leader in history. They didn't ask Obama anything for black people. Like Al Sharpton should have been the neck connected Obama, the head, to the black community, the body. Frederick Douglass, Mary McLeod Bethune did more for black folks with less access than Al Sharpton has done. So this is really a failure on the lack of true black leadership. And quite frankly, it's sad when you talk about Chokwe Lumumba, Chokwe could have been the elected black official that could have been a national black leader for black people to look up to and to really respect. We don't have any more national political black leadership. Now, we have black leadership at the local and grassroots levels, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about as like Adam Clayton Powell Jr. We don't have an Adam Clayton Powell Jr. in Congress for black people. We don't have a Maynard Jackson. We don't have no Harold Washington. We don't have black folks that really do things for black people to empower black folks or make black folks a priority. We don't have that anymore.
Mr. Wilby, let me answer some calls. Are you ready to answer some calls, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'm always ready, man. They can talk. I want to listen. I want to learn.
All right, let's go. East Maryland, you're on the air. East Maryland.
What's going on, brother?
How you doing,
How you doing, Mr. Jed? How you doing?
Pretty good. I didn't catch your talk. I kind of called in. I got in the middle of the discussion. So I don't really know what you guys were talking about.
All right, I'll get you back. I'll get you back in a minute.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right, let me get another one. All right. Guest 2, you're on the air. Guest 2, you're on the air. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Guest 6, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Maurice. How you doing, man? You out there?
Hey, brother Maurice. How you doing?
Good. I caught some of what you were saying, but I didn't catch everything. But the one thing I find pretty interesting, now you did bring up white privilege. You know, I've been reading Booker T. Washington's Up From Slavery this week, and he basically says there's no white privilege. I'm pretty much falling in line with him because in order for there to be a white privilege, one, I have to believe that, and two, there'll be no black millionaires, there'll be no black billionaires. There'll be no black presidents, things of that nature. But also, I hear you mention Obama, and economically, a lot of the stuff he did, and if we go from last to first, not only did it not help black people, and I think what black people need to do is get off of any politician helping black people per se, because if you help the people, black people will still benefit. That's why the Reagan presidency was so successful. A lot of the stuff he did helped the people. When it helped the people, the wage gap between blacks and whites shrunk. Per capita, yes, blacks still didn't make as much, but we were pretty much close, under Reagan. And then after Reagan, the gap widened, and under Obama, it has widened tremendously. So I just think those are just some things you need to look at. Want to give your opinion?
Go ahead, Mr. WLB.
So you call me Brother Ron. I don't have to be Mr. We All Be. I mean, it's a non-profit. I don't want my opinions, ideas about what I talk about get confused with the non-profit.
But go ahead, Mr. Ron. Go ahead, Mr. Ron.
Brother Ron. I mean, make a difference. Okay. Thank you, Brother Maurice, for your commentary and your comments and stuff. I really appreciate that. Now, Reagan is an interesting character because anytime you can find all those air traffic controllers and still have an airport name after you, you truly are a gangster. You truly are Mr. Smooth Operator. So the Reagan stuff is interesting. But with Booker T. Washington was actually, his birthday, I believe, was April the 2nd or 3rd. And he actually was killed by white supremacy and white privilege, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't understand the Booker T. Washington story. Booker T. Washington was invited to the White House to have dinner with Theodore Roosevelt and his family. I want to say it was like October the 16th, I believe, 1905. And the backlash from white supremacy was tremendous. October 16th is a special date for Black history because that's also the day that John Brown led the Harper's Ferry raid. And that's also the day that the original Million Man March back in 1995 was held on October 16th. So when he was invited to the White House, it was a big backlash from white America. How can you let this nigga eat at the table with your daughter and wife? Theodore Roosevelt. You got to think about Theodore Roosevelt had two uncles that he was close to who were Confederate spies or whatever called Confederates. And they had to leave the country after the Civil War or they'll face charges as war criminals. So they used to sneak over back into America from England to visit Teddy Roosevelt and his family. So Teddy Roosevelt is a very complex figure. Well, Booker T. Washington, they started the NAACP as opposition to Booker T. Washington because he was a threat. He was about Mr. Black self-help and all this stuff. So he had his National Negro Business League, and then the white powers that be formed the NAACP. And now, how did he die? Now, that's a mystery to a lot of people. You know, Booker T. Washington, back in 1911, go to the New York Times back in 1911, he was almost lynched by white people in Central Park. They accused him of being a peeping Tom. He was at this apartment that was predominantly white, and he was walking, I guess, up and down the corridor, looking at numbers on the door, and a white person allegedly panicked, and her husband came out and confronted Booker T. Washington and chased him to Central Park. It was a group of white folks that were about to lynch him till a NYPD officer came to his aid, and he didn't want to press charges. This is back in 1911. You can find a New York Times article online. Just Google it up. And Booker T. Washington, he spoke out on October 18th, 1915. He spoke out against the U.S. occupation of Haiti. And then, you know, his last speaking engagement, one of his last speaking engagements was, I believe, October 25th at Yale University, the home of Skull and Bones. So, and then in November, he was dead that year. And so nobody really understood how he really died. Now, the old timers, I interviewed a sister who wrote a book about death in 60 days. His sister, who was a registered nurse down in Mobile, Alabama, named Paulette Horton Davis. She wrote a book saying that Booker T. Washington was poisoned by a Haitian. That's a story she got from some of these old timers in the black church and back in the day. They say he was killed. And you got to think about, okay, who took over Tuskegee after Booker T. Washington was killed? This guy named Robert Moulton. Robert Moulton was U.S. Army intelligence. He was an Army spy. Just like Joe Spingarn, the guy who got the Spingarn Medal at the NAACP, he was U.S. Army intelligence. He was a spy. So all these folks were spies to spy on the black community. And one of Booker T. Washington's famous pen pals was Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was writing to Booker T. Washington from overseas to try to figure out how can he start Tuskegee like Institute in Jamaica. So when he came over to America, March 23rd, 2016, marched the 100-year anniversary of of Marcus Garvey coming to America. The greatest black mass leader we ever had, who was a protege of Booker T. Washington. So this is who Booker T. Washington was. He looked at Garveyites. Who were Garveyites? Elijah Poole, Elijah Muhammad was a Garveyite. Muhammad Ali's parents were Garveyites. Malcolm people were Garveyites. Minister Farrakhan people were Garveyites. And Garvey started his stuff based on Booker T. Washington. So also behind the scenes, Booker T. Washington funded, civil rights cases. And if you look at his story, a lot of people that he was close to died mysterious deaths. He had two wives that preceded him in death. They died real young. His third wife outlived him. Then you had a wife of Administrator Tuskegee doing one of his memorial service back in 1915. She jumped to her death from a building. So yeah, all types of, and then like the assistant U.S. Attorney General, who was a black man, who was a football legend at Harvard University, his daughter committed suicide as a teenager. She had all these type of crazy, weird stuff happening. Man, you got to look in at, so we don't know our history. Like I said, Booker T. Washington was not the founder of Tuskegee. He was appointed by white people to build it from the ground up. And so that's something to look at. You know, so when you talking about white privilege don't exist, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What do you think of that response, Maurice? What do you think of Brother Ron's response?
You can research all this.
Well, some of that stuff, you know, I'm gonna definitely have to do some research. I always found Booker T. Washington to be an interesting character. So there's a lot of reading I'm still doing. So don't take it on him and Frederick Douglass. So, which he had a lot of conversations with Frederick Douglass as well. And what I find interesting about Frederick Douglass, living in Baltimore and having lived in the D.C. area, he has a house in D.C. The projects are named after him in Baltimore, and none of the Negroes here actually even know who the hell he is.
Well, it was the first black high school in Maryland named, or first black high school in the country was named Douglass High School, right, in Baltimore, right?
Right, and I live around the corner from Douglass. And
yeah, that was Thurgood Marshall and Cal Calloway went, yeah.
Right, and, well, the old Douglass High School was actually closer to downtown. The new Douglass High School, which is still old, is around the corner from my house. I can walk to it from my house. But, yeah, the Negroes going there, of course, don't know who Frederick Douglass is. You know,
why should they know? But why should they know? Why should they know?
Wow, that is. I think they should know because, one, right now we don't have any black leaders, and two, I think children should model themselves after Booker T. Washington or Frederick Douglass as opposed to an Al Sharpton.
That's a good point, but who's going to teach you? I'm saying, like Malcolm said, he said, only a fool will let their enemies be the primary educators of their children. If you're in a system of white supremacy, why would white supremacists want your kids to know about Frederick Douglass or Booker T. Washington?
So if you believe in white supremacy and the schools that we go to, check this out. So if you believe that the schools, and I'm going to agree with you on that, because I hear Negroes in Baltimore and all over the place on Facebook. Chad's my Facebook friend. Actually, you are too. I'm King.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right. I'm hearing them scream white supremacy all day long. Okay, fine. What's the first thing they do? The ones that scream it the loudest, they move to a suburb to even a whiter neighborhood. Right. They want their kids to go to a better school. And you sit there, and I'm sitting here like, I know a girl, and this kills me because this just happened just weeks ago. She talking about white supremacy, all this, blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, I'm buying a new house. Where you buying it at? I'm buying it over here. I can't live in Baltimore City no more. Wait a minute.
Right.
You believe in white supremacy? You know, you doing all this stuff. Okay. But you can't live in Baltimore City amongst your black people. Then you tell me I have a mental illness, but I live around the corner from Douglass High School.
Brother Ron, I believe Mr. Maurice has a point. What do you think, Brother Ron?
Well, white folks are running to Baltimore. The white folks are running to Harlem. The white folks are running to wherever black folks don't want to be at to buy all that property. Right, I agree. I like Baltimore. I was in Baltimore last month. I love Baltimore. It's probably one of the most African cities in the country. Right. You know what I'm saying? Very powerful black history in Baltimore. But what white folks do, they'll take that black history and they'll make Starbucks and all that stuff and condominiums and stuff like that, and they go up to Harlem. See, we don't know the value. Wherever black folks gather becomes valuable real estate, whether it be Central Park, which used to be the African Village, whether it be Harlem, whether it be Beale Street, whether it be Baltimore, Georgetown, exactly. It was a black neighborhood, and also prisons. Wherever black bodies are gathered becomes valuable real estate for white supremacy. And white supremacy, I got to tell people once again, it does not exist in nature. This is a man-made system. Anything man-made could be destroyed, could be dealt with. This is not nature. White supremacy, white is a recessive gene. It doesn't exist as a supremacy gene in nature. This is a small-minded way of dealing with the majority of people of the world. If you got, like I said, 3 billion people living on $1.50 a day, that's craziness. That's insanity. We all are insane because we pay taxes. We subsidize our own genocide. We subsidize our own marginalization. This is what we do. So, like, you could talk black power with them. We need a food path, and you eat Wendy's or McDonald's. But like they say, food supposed to be medicine, right? But what I'm saying is, we are sick right now. Like, is Du Bois diagnosed the double consciousness of black folk? Like, we like paranoid schizophrenic right now. We bipolar right now dealing with this white supremacy system. But we can detox from this stuff. We can if we work together. You know, because Marcus Garvey, people don't understand. Marcus Garvey could not be touched unless black folks allowed him to be touched. His first speaking engagement was arranged by A. Philip Randolph. They used to be friends. When Marcus Garvey first came to America, his first speaking engagement was arranged by A. Philip Randolph, the great labor leader. But then he turned against Marcus. It was like Du Bois. You know, they turned against him. They used the government. You know, they hired the first FBI agent of color, James Wormley Jones, Agent 800. Google that up. He used to be a detective for the D.C. Police Department, and also he was a World War I hero. He was hired to neutralize Marcus Garvey by J. Edgar Hoover. See, this is a story about the FBI being created by these so-called public enemies. The FBI blood sacrificed Marcus Garvey. That's how they became the FBI. He was the biggest threat to white supremacy that they ever faced. Marcus Garvey never went to Africa, but he got folks thinking about Africa. This man was able to mobilize millions of black folks throughout the diaspora. He didn't have no social media. He wasn't on the radio on a consistent basis.
That's a fact.
Right, so who was this man? His mama knew who he was. Why his name was Mosiah, like Messiah. He was sitting here to give black folks a message. And we still haven't learned the message. It's like when Dr. Cosby Wilson came with the miseducation of the Negro. We're more miseducated than when he first published that book back in the 30s. So you're dealing with a willfully ignorant group of people, and we don't know. Keep on talking about praying. Praying to who? We keep on talking about disciplining. Disciplining who? All you got to do is tell folks who they are and where they came from and what they can be. Marcus Garvey overstood that. He said, up you mighty race and accomplish what you will. Know who you are.
Ron.
Yeah.
All right. Guest 7, is this Maurice still?
Yeah, you got it. I got cut off for some reason. I don't know what happened.
All right, but what do you think of his commentary? Go ahead and respond to Mr. Ron.
Okay, you were talking about Miseducation Negro?
Yeah.
It was funny. When I read that book, and this is what gets me about that book, that is required reading for most people who go to an HBCU. And I think they get absolutely nothing out of that damn book. Because once I've only read parts of it. And I was like, basically, Carter G. Woodson was like, look, we on the same, if not, we are superior to white people as far as our abilities. We need to go out and start businesses. We need to go out and become salespeople as opposed to just getting government jobs, become farmers, things of that nature. And that way we can create wealth. And again, some of his stuff sounds like a spinoff of Booker T. Washington. And if you go through some of his quotes, he's like, look, I'll welcome a lawsuit from a white business person.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop me from doing business. And that was just the attitude he had. And I think a lot of it, I played high school football. I played sports. And it's funny, being from the state of Florida, I was always a fan of the University of Miami. What people don't realize is that the majority of what you do has nothing to do with anything but your attitude. And I'm going to tell you something. The black people who I run into that talk about racism the most, even away from them talking about it, tend to have the lowest self-esteem in the group. So I'm saying that to say this. I think Carter G. Woodson was brilliant. I think Booker T. Washington is brilliant. I think there's a reason why they're not taught in the schools. But just because they're not taught in the schools, why aren't the parents giving their kids these books to read?
I mean, Marcus Garvey's not taught in the schools either. I mean, that's not taught in the schools either. So, you know.
But still, I mean, if you're a black person and you went to somebody's college, and I hate to beat up on HBCU people, but the HBCU folks, a lot of stuff was required reading for them. I went to George Mason. My required reading was about the state of Virginia and how, you know, there's a guy by the name of George Mason. He helped write the Bill of Rights.
Right.
You know, they can care less about black history. But, you know, you got people, I know people who went to Florida A&M. I know people who went to Morgan State. You know, you talk about some of these, all they know and all they know how to say, talk about is white supremacy and either blacks voting Democrat or Bernie Sanders. And when you come to the subject of anything dealing with economics, they draw a fucking blank. And I think that's sad, man.
Mr. Ron, what do you think of his comment?
Well, Carter G. Woodson and Booker T. Washington are both Virginia blacks. They from Virginia, you know. And Carter G. Woodson was interested. I had a chance to talk to a young, he's an elder. He actually grew up, and Carter G. Woodson was his neighbor. He knew him well. And he was talking about how Carter G. Woodson was. He didn't really care for him that much, but he knew he was brilliant. But Carter G. Woodson, you got to look at his background. Who was Carter G. Woodson, the man? Where did he come from? He came from Virginia. He was working in the coal mines, right? He grew up working in the coal mines. So this guy, Carter G. Woodson, was very, you know, he was about 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, solid muscle. He's like a Jack Johnson, okay? That's like the dude told me. Like, you know, this guy was 200 pounds, solid. You know, he was in good shape because he came out the coal mines. He didn't graduate from high school until he was in his early 20s, maybe 21 or 22, because he had to save up money to go to school because he was working the coal mines. So his father was a former enslaved African. His father instilled in his sons and his kids a sense of dignity and self-worth. He told them, don't take anything from the white man. Don't take no mess off no white man. You just as good, if not better than any white man. You is equal.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
This is all right. But hold on, Maurice. I'm gonna get you on. I had to let this. Is this Monty?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead, Monty. Please ask Mr. Ron a question.
Yeah, I think it's very commendable in terms of what you are bringing to our attention. My only concern is the portrait that you're painting is really only telling half of the story in terms of why we do a lot of things we do. And in addition to the story, I'm glad you brought this story up about Marcus Garvey. I'm glad they had to research it. You pointed out a lot of things that I need to look into.
It's all online. I know we don't trust black folks. We don't trust a black man when he come with knowledge. We trust a white man when he lies to us to our face because he speaks a good diction and stuff like that. But what I want to say about Carter G. Woodson, before we get into that, Carter G. Woodson was the second black person to graduate from Harvard.
Are you there?
With a PhD. Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead. I was letting you know, he was the second black person to graduate from Harvard with a PhD.
Okay. Yeah, in addition to what you're talking about, as far as what's his name, Carter G. Woodson and Marcus Garvey.
He's the father of Black History, Carter G. Woodson. He's got a Black History Month.
Okay, cool. I'll research that. But in addition to that, there's a thing called Black Wall Street in Greenwood, Oklahoma.
Right, I know about that.
What do you know about that? Because that's an interesting story as well. What do you know about that story, and what are you guys doing to promote that story?
Well, that story is well known, but you got to go back to Wilmington in 1898. That's a story you need to start with. When people talk about,
you say it's a well known story. It's a well-known
Yeah, for the most part, in comparison to other black towns that have been wiped off the map. But I want to go back to you want to know about Tulsa. You know about Tulsa. We know about the Gap Band. You dropped a bomb on me, baby. We know about that, right? But before Tulsa, before Rosewood, go back to 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina. Go back to 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington is interesting. Wilmington is the place. Michael Jordan was born in Brooklyn, but he grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina produced David Walker, who wrote The Appeal for the Colored Citizens of the World. Look up David Walker's Appeal. This came out in the late 1820s. It scared the hell out of white supremacists and white slave owners. David Walker, he's from Wilmington, North Carolina. Back in the day, they had a place called Cape Fear. You know the movie Cape Fear. It's set in Wilmington, North Carolina. But what they used to do back then, they'll take the most rebellious, the most stubborn black alpha male, enslaved African. They cut his head off and impaled his head on a stick in the harbor.
Yeah.
So when you go into the when you go into the harbor, you see all these black male heads on a stick. Let you know we ain't gonna tolerate no insurrection on whatever down here. David Walker wrote The Appeal, and it's probably gathering dust in some local public library somewhere. He wrote The Appeal. It scared the hell out of slave owners and people. They thought a white man wrote it because he wrote with such clarity and articulation the frustrations of black people in America. Because he answered Thomas Jefferson's whatever call about black inferiority. He answered that with that powerful pamphlet, and they found him dead on his doorsteps, I believe, in Boston. But this would lead to the Virginia insurrection of Nat Turner. I'm sure Nat Turner read The Appeal before he decided to go, do his thing back in August of 1831 in Southern Virginia. So what I'm saying, Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898 was the probably the first successful insurrection since the Civil War.
Okay, that was an insurrection, right? That was an insurrection, right?
Let me finish. Okay, I'm trying to give you some new information. Oh, you know about Tulsa.
I wanted to elaborate. I wanted to
finish the story, though. I'm trying to finish the story.
It's your show.
Understand why Tulsa happened. I'm trying to tell you why Tulsa happened, sir.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying. Y'all so
easy.
I'm not going. You can't solve the world problems on a radio show. You got to do some real work that nobody knows about, like these people did.
Oh, yeah, right.
But in 1898 in Wilmington, the white folks were out of power, the Democrats. Overthrew the local government. You had black folks that was very industrious. They owned acres of land. They owned businesses. It had politicians, not only just black politicians, but white politicians who were very sympathetic and empathetic to the black cause. So you had a thriving black community in Wilmington that was overthrown by white supremacists out of power because they want to blame this newspaper guy who was a black man. He wrote a story in a local newspaper. He said some things they thought he shouldn't have said. And they said, we're going to overthrow these people. They ran all the black folks out of town. So black folks left behind businesses, acres of land, and the politicians were ran out of town. The governor of North Carolina knew what happened and did nothing. The White House knew what happened and did nothing. Okay? So the only way you have power in this country is by having some political clout and also some ownership of businesses and whatnot. Not just voting, not just the franchise, but owning a franchise, owning businesses, owning land. That's the only way they respect you. So when the white supremacists saw what happened in North Carolina, when the White House did nothing, when the government of North Carolina did not intervene, that's how you got Jim Crow. It's not just because of Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896. It's because of what happened in Wilmington in 1898. You got Tulsa and Rosewood and so many other things. But the state of North Carolina, about 15, 20 years ago, whatever, they did a 6-year study into the consequences of the 1898 Wilmington race riot. They called it a riot, it was a massacre. Anytime white folks called a riot when it concerned black people, it was a massacre. Mm-hmm. And they knew that this caused black folks not to have generational wealth. Imagine all the stuff that was lost from the generations because of what happened at that time in Wilmington. So I think a brother recently did a documentary about the Wilmington race riot, whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, so when we talk about Tulsa and Rosewood, let's talk about Wilmington, too, because that was the blueprint for what they did in Tulsa and Rosewood. And you can Google all this stuff up. It's Wilmington race riot, Wilmington, North Carolina, whatever. So, Brother Monty, you go ahead and speak. I'm sorry. I just want to get that information out there.
Yeah, no, for people who don't know the exact story, and in terms of why that was so significant, and you brought up a lot of good points that came about as a result of what happened in Wilmington and those areas. But I think we also need to make absolutely sure that when we talk about you guys are mentioning cities or towns other than Greenwood, but my research, and maybe I have to go back and correct it again or something, but Greenwood seems to have been the epicenter of of where we started to formulate our entrepreneurship, which attracted all of these people, our people from all over the country, and caused that place to be titled Little Africa, right?
Right.
Right, and I think we need to make absolutely sure that everyone understands that way back when we channeled our resources, we proved that we can sell amongst each other. When the turnover of our dollars was like 10, 20 times within our black communities, we had the banks, we had police stations, we had bus services. We had every single thing imaginable incorporated into that very small community, which was expanding at an exponential rate because of our efforts. And even though the story is framed as a racial issue in terms of, what you think about when you hear that story, it had nothing to do with a race riot. What it had to do with us threatening the establishment and letting everyone know that these black people are really taking it upon themselves to thrive and survive and create a perfect example in terms of what we can do when we don't have people breathing down our necks. And I think also when they devastated that town, and then they said, look, you guys, I'm sorry we burned down your businesses and your homes and drove you out of town, but this is the good news. When you come back, we're going to put you on welfare. And you can ask us and plead with us, and we'll give you a stipend to help you out. And I think we need to understand that was the first initial example of actual welfare, which was a disgrace because we were not dependent upon anybody until they took that away from those people in Greenwood.
Oh, great points. Excellent points.
And also, just because you guys are on TalkShoe, I just want to let you know there's a social media thing called Blab, B-L-A-B. I would love to have you guys join me on Blab when we get a chance, and because that social media site is taking off like crazy, and we're doing lots of interviews and getting the word out, and I think that'll be an excellent medium because I don't know how many people TalkShoe is reaching, but I think we can really get the word out in terms of the story that you talked about with Garvey and Carter and all these other people. That's a medium that we really need to take advantage of.
Please put that link in the chat room, or you can actually email me at dude34l@aim.com if you would like to email me that, because I never heard of that. Now, is Blab owned by anybody, or is it personal?
No, Blab is owned. It's a startup. It's another social media site, But the good thing about it is BLAB, like boy, Larry, Apple, boy, .im for instant messenger or something. But what's really neat about it, real quick, is that you can have 4 people in a window all doing live chat at the same time, and you get all these other people who are chatting on the sideline and throwing in their comments, and then you can record it, and then after you record it, you can further cross-promote that, and you can create a whole library of things. And right now I did 4 Black Wall Street episodes where we're covering, I covered where it came from, where it was at the present, and where I think we can go with that concept. And I don't see any reason why you guys can't do the same thing and really reach some people, because this story is really not being told at all. And I think we're operating blind. We're operating blind in this white man's world, right? And we don't even realize that what we're up against.
Well, thank
you guys
you,
are really
Monty,
covering
for
some
your
good stuff.
commentary.
Yeah, I'm gonna back out. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. That's great stuff.
Yeah, it was great stuff. But Monty, please post that in the description box, or just email me, or email Mr. Ron after the show.
We all be in email. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, how much longer are you guys going to be on? I'll go inside my office and
I'm gonna say about 13 more minutes, but we might go 10 minutes over only because I might get the callers to speak. But I'm gonna get you back on. All right. Okay,
I'm done for now, but we look forward to working with you guys on hopefully meeting up on Blab. Okay.
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. All right. Bye.
Take care. But I mean, Brother Chad, it's commendable, like the type of listeners you attract to your show. It speaks a lot to like the quality of your show. Yeah, a lot of great callers called in. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
See, I have good callers, and my chat room has freaking white supremacists and.
It's over the territory, though.
Yeah, it goes to territory.
You gotta have trouble. You're doing a good job, though. You're doing good work.
White supremacists like my show because I'm anti-Zionist and I'm not for apartheid Israel. You know, so they like that. But I'm just saying, they disrespect me when I talk about black issues. They love when I talk about Israel and this, that, but they hate when I talk about black issues or saying that, you know, I don't personally, I don't just believe in white privilege. I believe every group is privileged except heterosexual black males. And when I say this, white people just lose their crap. But whatever.
Well, I think you might be onto a certain thing because, being a black man all my life, we the least respected, but we the most admired and hated people on the planet. We some of the least respected, but most admired and hated people on the planet. For whatever reason, they fear the black sperm. You know, it's very dominant. Like the brother DuBose that was killed by that police officer last year up in Cincinnati. I believe he had 12 or 13 kids. You kill one of us, we still multiplying. Okay. That's how powerful. You got Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. It's the white folks that can't reproduce fast enough before they die. Black folks
who Hillary
reproducing,
supports, by the way. Who Hillary Clinton supports, by the way.
Well, Hillary never been a friend of black people, but black folks, we want that emotional. It's like emotional eating. We just want to be patted on the head and want to be acknowledged by some important white person, and all they do is use us to no end. You know, and that's a problem, but it comes from not knowing about Tulsa. And because, Little Africa was doing some big business internationally. See, the white folks wanted in on that. Because they were doing business with countries without getting permission from Uncle Sam. You understand? They were doing business. They were working on international business level. They was on another level. But you can have a little Italy, you can have a little China, you can have a little anything, but you can't have a little Africa. You can't have people of African descent working together. And this is what we need to start doing. And we got to start understanding that economic reality. Economics is warfare. Business is warfare. We can't just keep on coming and thinking, we're going to build a business, not protect our interests. All white folks protect their interests when come to business.
But another topic that's a little bit hot right now, and thank you for saying that. That's a little hot right now. I want what's your thoughts on reparations for black people in America? What's your thoughts on that?
We should get reparations, but we're not going to get it from these people. Not with their mindset. You know, and reparations just don't mean no money. And money don't mean anything too much, really. It's a lot of things, but we have not even, in the 8 years Obama been in the White House, we have yet to see a real agenda a consensus among black folks of what should be our most important priorities. And which is kind of ironic because we don't look at our history. But I think that the platform the Black Panther Party established, it's the 10-point platform, where they said all the needs. Because somebody said you take care of the people, you take care of I think it was Brother Maurice. When you take care of black people, you take care of everybody. Black people are the original people. When the Civil Rights Movement happened, that was a black movement. But everybody since then has benefited from that black movement except for black people. When black folks decide to move on something, the whole world benefits. All of humanity benefits. It's not just for black people. It's like you look at the Civil Rights Movement. I know I got friends that are civil rights veterans. You would think that every black person was involved. No, it wasn't. It was just a small group of minorities within minorities
that's what I keep trying
that was
to tell
doing
people.
stuff.
Because it seems like when older black people talk, it's like we have to listen to them and say everything else. But most of the older generation didn't do it. It was a small group of people. Right. And I didn't get that from just any person. I got that from a cartoon called The Boondocks. When Huey Freeman said, it's just they say it's like they speak as if they went through it, but it's just a small group of people that went through it. So.
Yeah, but everybody benefited from that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just black folks, but a lot of us don't know that. A lot of them, we thinking that the Civil War abolished slavery. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery.
Slavery was in the amendment. You have to be arrested to be a slave.
They arresting black folks. Who's the majority of people in jail?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the majority of people in jail? So, and you're the minority. You don't own nothing. You don't own none of the country's wealth. You own less than half of 1% of the country's wealth. Not 1%, less than half of 1%. So this is what we're dealing with. But it comes again when black kids don't know who Paul Robeson and Thurgood Marshall and Frederick Douglass is. It's not you can't put the blame on the black child. We want to talk about sagging pants. At least they got enough sense of the protest. Huh?
Mm-hmm. You put the blame on the parents and the elders that are supposed to teach them.
No, not necessarily the parents. Okay, I got a friend. She's my age. She's 35, and she's already a grandma. Her oldest kid is in their 20s. When she had her first child, was like 12 or 13, whatever. So what I'm saying is, if you having kids too early, that's a form of genocide. But that's the way the system is set up. Like, if you got undereducated parents, you're going to have undereducated kids. Unless somebody decides to break that cycle. And really, you come into a system as a black person that puts you at a disadvantage because you're black. Let's get real here. You want to talk about respectability politics in a system that demeans you because of the way you look, because of your melanin in your skin, and you want to make sense out of that? This system is insane. This is why black folks go crazy. Black folks ain't going crazy because black folks going crazy because the system is crazy. They don't deal with us in a logical fashion.
But when I'm looking, I see what you're saying. I still want to give you my opinion on reparations, but I have to say this: if the system is the most terrible thing, I'm not saying that there is no system. Then how come we had lower rates of children out of wedlock? How come we have more businesses and more things to ourselves? How come that as a group we had better marriage rates than white people? 50 to 60 years ago.
They destroyed the black family. The Civil Rights Movement was about the black man, woman, and child. It's about the Holy Trinity. The Trinity is not the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost or Spirit. It's the black man, woman, and child. Christianity is an African religion. They stole everything from us. They stole our religions. They stole our music. They stole everything. But did they really steal it, or we just shared? We overshared because we come from a different mindset than those people. Okay, so like when you talk about the black family, there's so many examples I go through. People don't understand because we don't really do a lot of studying as black people. We don't study ourselves like we should. We belittle ourselves. We downplay ourselves. We disrespect ourselves, but we don't really study ourselves. If you look at the Civil Rights Movement, it's based on the black man, woman, and child. It's based on the black family. You look at the Montgomery bus boycott, what they don't tell you. They talk about the Rosa Parks sitting down and the 381 straight day boycott, but they also was protesting black women being raped by police officers and white bus drivers.
Yep.
You had black men coming home from Korean War and World War II veterans said, enough is enough. I want to reclaim my manhood. So they started protecting the women, and nobody got raped during those 381 straight days because 11 years before that, on September 3rd, 1944, there was this black woman named Reese Taylor. She was walking home from church with her friend, and 6 white men kidnapped and raped her. They gang raped her, and nobody could indict them or convict them or anything. And they confessed to doing it to her, but she could not get any type of justice in the court. So Rosa Parks was called to investigate. She was the secretary of the NAACP at the time. And she investigated what happened to her. And then 11 years later, you had the Montgomery bus boycott.
And also the understanding of that boycott just left the entire
right.
city.
The black business class, right?
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was like the black business class. Also, you control black media because Dr. King talked about how the black radio was used as a way to help with logistics, to get across messages. So we don't control our media no more. You know, you don't have the race beat. You know, you have Griot and the Root, but they're owned by white people, white supremacy.
Yeah.
John H. Johnson was the guy who released the picture of Emmett Till. Go ahead.
Even News One is owned by outside resources. So I mean,
yeah.
You know, Rowan Martin doesn't own that. He doesn't own that show. He can't do whatever he wants on that show. But I wanted to also give my perspective. I gotta let another caller in because we're about to end the show soon. But my thoughts on reparations, and I'm gonna start with this fact that we are a $1 trillion consumer. You can look in 4 or 5 black-owned websites to find that out. And the thing with it is that, do we deserve it? Yes. Do I think everybody should get it? No. And I think the people who went through Jim Crow, went through segregation, even the prison who went through who were innocent or had nonviolent crimes, who went through the prison system should be able to get it. But as a collective getting these reparations, I mean, and I believe the people who should be giving these reparations, if there is reparations, should be companies. But as of right now, I don't think we need reparations.
I believe that.
Go ahead.
Well, I believe I'm not qualified to tell who needs what, but I do know that black folks, every black person should be entitled to reparations because there ain't no black person who's not a victim of this system. It's not for me to tell you who's guilty or innocent. I think because we all guilty of something. We all innocent on some level, but we all are a part of this system. We all have been crucified. So you got to look at the generational trauma. Like I had interviewed a sister 6 years ago. See, people now, they catching up to what I've been doing. And now it's like, oh, I just want to just do something else now. You know, I interviewed a sister named Mrs. Payne. Her son was Larry Payne. Larry Payne was killed by the police in Dr. King's last march in Memphis on March 28th, 1968. Mm-hmm. Dr. King called and gave the mother his condolences. He supposed to have went to the funeral, but he was killed the next Thursday. Her son was killed on the last march that Dr. King had, which was on a Thursday, and then Dr. King was killed on another Thursday, April 4th. And now people are trying to do stories and books about this, what happened to this boy. He was 16 years old. He was killed by the police. And this same old stuff, right? The police, will not let the mom, go to her son. They'll call her nigga. You better not put your hands on her. We'll blow your fucking brains out. All this shit. The Memphis power structure, white power structure, ran her out of town. Ran her to Flint, Michigan. So her family has been in Flint like all these years, right? They went from one trauma to another trauma. We all know about the Flint water crisis. So they've been consuming that water, So, I mean, it's sad. This is the black narrative. This is what we go through, all this trauma. So who am I to say, when I talk to his brother who's on all type of psychotropic medication, that, you don't deserve reparations because you didn't go to that or that. We all have been traumatized. Fred Hampton Jr., his daddy was lynched while he was still in his mama's womb on December 4th, and he was born December 29th. Mm-hmm. Think about the trauma he had to go through in the womb. From that night, they took his father away at the age of 21. So how am I qualified to say who deserves this or that? Black folks deserve it, period. It's not for them to tell us what we do with our money. The reason why, I want to say this one thing. The reason why we spend the most money is because we hate ourselves the most. The people who spend the most money hate themselves the most. Think about it. The bleaching creams and stuff. Think about it.
Are you still there, Mr. Ron?
I'm here, yeah. I'm just being quiet.
Got cut off. You said what?
No, I was just being quiet. You see, he had to take a call or whatever. I was just trying to make that point.
No. I mean, I'm going to take this call after I say this. But what I'm trying to say is I'm not completely disagreeing with you that to a degree that when we buy more expensive stuff, we appreciate that stuff and we tend to do it. What I'm saying is that, I mean, we can say this. I just believe that right now if reparations was just given to every single black person in America, it would backfire. The people who went through Jim Crow and segregation, give it to them first. Give it to them first. Okay? The people who went through the prison industrial complex, 40s, 50s, 30s. But the majority of people in their 20s, no. Teens, but no. I just can't agree with just every single person getting it. That's just my process. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I went to the Scottsboro Boys exoneration, he talked about Tulsa, but what about the Scottsboro Boys? What they did to them was atrocious. They all dead now. I talked to their descendants and stuff. They deserve that money because of the trauma that was passed from that generation to the next generation. It has not been resolved. I mean, I'm not going to say this because white folks give their kids everything when they got the means and the ends. That's why they think the way they think. So what I'm saying is not my place. For every 10 black person that squander their money, there's going to be a couple of us that are going to save our money or pull our money together to create empires, to create dynasty. Because I told you we was the original Jews anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So when they say that's so ghetto, and people, I talked to a Jewish girl in New York recently, and she was talking about how she was in Dearborn, Michigan, and she was bothered by the fact that they were saying when she was growing up in this high school, they said, "Oh, they're so Jewish."
Mm-hmm.
And then I told my friend, I said, it's like saying they're so ghetto. It means the same thing because that was Jews used to live in Europe, the ghettos. But in the ghetto is where the Rothschild dynasty was born, in the ghettos of Germany. And once again, they use our religion to create dynasty. So I'll go back. We got help now.
All right. So who would lead the charge for reparations? Who will
Ain't
lead the charge?
Ain't nobody lead. It's group. It's a team effort. This is a team sport. White supremacy is a team sport. You can't. Johnny Cochran been there. I mean, like what Dr. John Henry Clark said. You bury the man and you continue to plan. You dying anyway. Like people say, well, Dr. King, you getting us killed. Y'all dying anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Die for something. Most of y'all ain't dying for nothing. That will make your life not mean anything. Your life will matter more if you actually die for something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You just die. They're killing you. They're killing you by the food, by the environment, by the police, by the education, by the economics. They're killing us anyway. They wiping us out with our consent. You talking about Flint? We got water issues in Memphis. We got air quality conditions and stuff in all of California.
With lead poison and everything, it's all around the country where it's water. So people who just think it's Flint, you're daydreaming.
You're crazy. It's everywhere. We got one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. Memphis does, and we got some of the world's best drinking water. But yeah, we got one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. Majority black city. We the home of St. Jude. Yeah, we got the highest infant mortality rate in the country. And one of the most, we're like a third world country now. We're the poorest big city in America. We're America's poorest.
And you said that it's the second largest Air Force base.
Right, we got the second largest air cargo hub in the world. The number one is Hong Kong. How can you justify a city like this? This is the corporate world headquarters of FedEx. This is white daddy plantation politics 101. Memphis is supposed to be way bigger than Atlanta and Nashville. They surpassed us. But Memphis used to be the cotton capital of the South. Like Reverend C.T. Vivian, the great civil rights legend, told me, he said, we refer to Memphis as the capital of Mississippi because it was the financial capital. Because when the White Citizen Council, when the Sovereignty Commission down in Mississippi wanted to block the activists from being active, a lot of the Mississippi activists were businessmen. They owned land. They were farmers. They owned grocery stores, gas stations, like M.Z. Moore. But their credit was blocked by the white supremacists at the bank. They had to go to the used to be black-owned Tri-State Bank, get a line of credit so their businesses could sustain themselves and survive. That's black power. When Dr. King was in Memphis, he was talking about invest your money in black banks like Tri-State. Tri-State is not black-owned anymore, by the way. And invest your money in black insurance companies. Stop going to places where you can buy a burger, you can't afford a burger. Or they take your money and won't hire you. He said, boycott Coca-Cola. Wonder Bread, Hot Bread. He named names. Y'all talking about some mountaintop bullshit. He was talking about some deep stuff. He was talking about take pride in yourself.
Now, I think one of the biggest things that we can boycott right now would probably be definitely the NBA and NHL. I mean, in the NFL. I think Jordan's shoes and Nike. I think that would be good.
But let me think about this though. We talking about HBCU suffering. How can we get some of our best athletes to go back to HBCUs? How about that? Instead of going to the SEC, go back to the HBCU.
HBCUs, yeah.
Instead of going to Alabama, go to Grambling. We could do that. We get their attention. You know how much money these schools make off our black athletes?
Yep.
Hey, we get that. We start getting some stuff on. No, I don't want to talk about no boycott, no Nike. Let's start sending our kids, our best athletes back. You know what? Mississippi produced some of the greatest black athletes on the planet in the history. Walter Payton went to Jackson State. Jerry Rice went to Mississippi Valley State. These are some small schools. Mississippi Valley State are out in the middle of nowhere in the Delta. Some of the best football players who come from the HBCUs, like Too Tall Jones, came out to TSU. Because they had no choice. Matter of fact, the reason why we got an AFL, or American Football Conference now, is because Lamar Hunt, who was the founder of the Kansas City Chiefs, he used to scout at the HBCUs when the NFL wasn't scouting at the HBCUs. Mm-hmm. That would change the game. And then when USC played Alabama and Alabama whooped their ass.
Yeah.
And Barry Bryant said, "Give me some black players, I'll run for governor." And George Wallace said, "Okay, they can have some black players," because he knew if Barry Bryant ran for governor, he would have been governor of Alabama. So we don't know that. See, we don't tell our history. We don't tell our story. You don't know our story. We don't know our history. We don't know the narrative.
Let me answer this one call. Mr. Maurice, are you back on the air?
Yes, I am.
All right, you're the last call for a night. Say what you want to say to Mr. Ron, and then we'll end the show.
Mr. Ron, I actually watch a lot of your YouTubes, the ones that have Judge Joe Brown, and I think he's brilliant. I think you need to do more stuff with him, man. I enjoy. As a matter of fact, if you watch my Facebook page, I shared a lot of your YouTubes with him on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Because he's telling black folks, look, this is why this happened. He's coming with facts. Even because I saw one, he talked about the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he was working on the case. He talked about the prison system and a couple of them. And I was just like, wow. Because I see a lot of brothers and sisters talking about certain subjects. Excuse my French, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They know it's an issue. And you see them, they come on my page and debate. Like, a couple of brothers was getting on Ray Lewis, and I'm like, and, everybody else took them on, and I'm sitting here like, I live in Baltimore.
Right.
Y'all gonna talk shit about Ray Lewis, and half of my page is from Baltimore? I didn't even have to say that. It was beautiful. Everybody was responding. Because they don't know Ray Lewis feeds the kids. So if you got something to say about Black Lives Matter, go ahead and say it. Black Lives Matter ain't fed nobody. Just like everybody wants to go in on Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was taking money out of his pocket, sending people to school.
Right.
And you mentioned HBCUs, gave money to Spelman,
right,
Howard. Now, all of a sudden, don't none want to be associated with it.
And by the way,
give his money back. Give his money back.
HBCU, thank you, what Mr. Ron said. Just give the money back if you think he's guilty. But keep going, Maurice.
And what kills me about that is living in the D.C. area, right? And I studied economics from George Mason, by the way. I don't talk when you see me in these debates on Facebook. I'll lie and say, look, all I got is high school. But anyways, because I don't want to intimidate folks. And it's a lot of times when you tell people your credentials, it opens up a whole nother bag, and it's just like, okay, you're getting even more pointless, debates. But even back down to, okay, Bill Cosby giving all this money. And it was funny how how finicky our people are, because these were just allegations. There was no DNA. There was no. And then when you look at the records of the girls, every other girl had a prostitution charge already. A prostitution charge, drug charge. You sit here like, you look at pictures of the girls on TV, it's like, man, she a burnout. She done been through Baltimore, Philadelphia, and D.C. Okay? And we just said, fuck Bill Cosby. I'm just sitting here like, wait a minute. All because he told young black man, y'all need to pull y'all pants up. And see, I think this is where the black female comes in, because black females don't want you to critique their sons because he's perfect just the way he is. No, the nigga wants to put on a skirt. Something's wrong with that. We need to address this issue. Maybe we can't fix it, but we at least need to try to address it. No, the nigga is on a street corner with a 45 in his pocket. Maybe we can't change it, but we need to address this issue and quit saying your son is an angel. You know, until we get to that point, we always are going to have that problem. See, in high school, like I said, I was an athlete. So every day I had to go in the weight room. Okay, I'm bench pressing 250. I need to get up to 275. About 40 times. Everything I did in high school and in college was about self-improvement. What'd you say?
There's an ambulance in the background. Is that you, Guest 7?
He just left. He just left. This Baltimore, man, you know, I can't help it. But so why is it when black folks talk about self-improvement, like, look, we need to change this. We need to understand the laws. The reason why Baltimore has a murder problem is because, unfortunately, there's other people in our race that take advantage of the fact that you can kill somebody in Baltimore, only do 7 years in prison. See, I'm from Florida. You kill somebody, you're doing 25 to life. In Baltimore, they're going to be like, oh, you don't know who your daddy is. You might be lead paint poison. You know what, fine, you're only doing 8 years. You know, so now people are like, well, if I kill somebody, I only get 7, 8 years. Well, let me go ahead and do it. Let me see if I can get away with it. So now you got all these people doing it. And then the law-abiding people can't defend themselves because the same people who say, oh, well, we should give these other people a chance, say, hey, law-abiding citizens can't have guns.
Mr. Maurice, thank you for saying, I'm sorry to cut you a little bit short, but I have 2 more calls I have to get to before I end the show that just called in. So thank you for calling in. East Maryland hung up, so I only have 1 caller. Mr. Ron, do you have time to answer 1 more caller?
Yeah, it's fine, man. Go ahead.
All right, Central Massachusetts, you are the last caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just listening in, man. I just chimed in, so I don't really even know the conversation.
The guy coming earlier, man, at like 8 p.m. Eastern, man. We were in here since 8 p.m. going ham, so, I mean, I wish you came in earlier, though.
You got the archives, right? Just be available at the same link, or?
Yes, sir, it will.
Okay.
But do you want to add anything to your? I can do 5 extra minutes if you have. Do you have anything you want to on your mind or anything you want to say, or Mr. Big Ron?
I would say this, like, and as I get older and stuff, and I realize what's going on, I'm learning how to be more patient with our people, meaning black people, because we are sick right now as a people, as well as individually sick. A lot of us don't really realize that, because a lot of what we think is black on black crime is not black on black crime. It's white supremacy and blackface. You know, a lot of this stuff is strategic and logistic wise. I mean, if you look at the media, you think all of Chicago is burning. But it's not all of Chicago. It's certain pockets of Chicago. It's like, it's meaning that they got it contained, which means that it's a systemic thing. You understand? Like when you shut down the schools, when you shut down all this stuff, and you shut down places where can the young people go to be young people? It's like when I used to work in the schools and stuff, and the kids would act all ham and go crazy in the hallway. And then I started thinking about it. I said, maybe when they're not at school, they got to be the grown-up. they got to be one provided for their siblings. They got to have the ones be the ones working jobs. I remember when I was talking to an assistant principal at one of these inner city high schools, and he was talking to this young girl, and he told me after he got to talking to her, look, she scored very high on the ACT, like in the late, like maybe like 29 or something like that. But she don't come to school every day. And he told me that she was a stripper. I said, really? I said, how she could be a stripper? I said, how old is she? But he said the reason why she's stripping is because she's the one supporting her parent and her kids, her siblings, excuse me. So I don't know what's going on with people when I see them. I try to be courteous or considerate and kind and as patient as I can with our people. And I want people to really think about what I just said, because you don't know what's going on with somebody. You don't know everybody's story, all that stuff. We definitely don't know who we are as a people. But thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this.
No, I met Big Rod. Do you have anything to say to Mr. Rod? Big Rod, you there? Since Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm there. No, not really. I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for your last words, Mr. Ron. And thank you again for being on the show. Can you please tell the audience where they can find you and how they can contact you?
Yeah, definitely. You go to We All Be TV on YouTube. It's like We All, WEALLBE. We All Be TV. You can type that up in the Google search or the YouTube, and it'll pop up. You also have to be reached at weallbe@gmail.com. That's alphabet, it's W as in water, E as in eagle, A as in alligator, L as in love, L as in love again, B as in boy, E as in entertainment @gmail.com.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Hope to have you again. I'll be back on the air at 8 p.m. Eastern next week. Everybody have a good weekend. Thanks again, Mr. Ron.
Thank you, brother Shad. Appreciate it.